Yo, what is going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown, episode 485. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
What's up, people? How's it going?
Carlos Romero.
Yo, yo, yo.
Richard Bailey Jr.
What's up, everybody?
And Brian Manjoma.
I guess on the plus side, they didn't give him the Killmonger haircut.
Although it was pretty close. Pretty close.
Oh no, it's not close, but I'm sure when you customize them, you could put it in there, right?
Oh God,
that's how it goes.
You know, yeah. What's going on, man? I already saw you guys in the chat. It's like, oh, we got to start. Chris is probably going to dive in a little bit later because he's going to be doing something special for you guys, something that you probably expect. And Brett will show up when he shows up. You know. But yeah, back at it. I want to give a shout out to everybody that showed up for the Monday show. Usually on Sunday, but it was the same turnout. Mm-hmm. It was great. So that was good. And that was a really good show, despite the gaffe in the middle, which was an appropriate gaffe because we were talking about streaming, and then the streaming portion of the show fucks up, But as usual, the MP3 listeners weren't even aware of it. It was just clean coasting. Although I did throw in the Freakazoid thing in there just in the middle because it's funny. But yeah, we're back with a regularly scheduled program. This week was interesting to say the least. Lots of stuff happened, Matter of fact, our lead story here, Assassin's Creed, should have really been a footnote, like, oh, here we go. Another Assassin's Creed game, but there's been some controversy, to say the least. We'll get to that, but try not to go into it too much like everybody else has. But yeah, Assassin's Creed Shadows releases November 15th. And it, just like Assassin's Creed Syndicate and Assassin's Creed Odyssey, you're going to have two protagonists. One is a samurai. Another one is a shinobi, right? Pretty interesting stuff. If you go to Japan, now I want to talk about this. This is very interesting because for years, right, especially the intro years of Assassin's Creed, they were very adamant because people from the jump were like, yo, what's up with Japan? When we go to Japan? When we go to Japan? Ubisoft was very adamant in saying, we are not going to use Japan. That setting's played out. Everybody's done it. We're not doing it. But obviously, like I talked about on the last show, nobody that worked on the original Assassin's Creed is there anymore. So obviously it's like, let's go to Japan now, which is interesting because now we have a world where Ghost of Tsushima exists, Rise of the Ronin exists, so those have given people the Assassin's Creed Japan that they wanted, but now the real Assassin's Creed is going to do it. And from what I understand, this is going to be a full-fledged Assassin's Creed game. It's not going to be like Mirage. Mirage was a more truncated version. Truncated compared to the recent ones, but the same length as the older Assassin's Creed games. But this is going to be, expect a 200-hour game, all that, set in Japan. So my guess is, obviously it's going to mainly, like you said, follow Nobunaga's exploits, but they're going to probably give you most of the Japanese islands you just fuck around, just like they did with the Odyssey and Valhalla. It's like, yeah, the story is kind of centered in one place, but you get to go everywhere, and many side missions and all that,
I would just think it would be like important locations and stuff like that. Maybe you go end up on the certain portion of familiar locations.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely, I think it's mostly, they're already installing Nobunaga as the ultimate evil in it. So
yeah. Yeah, because this is the I'm reading this here, the late Sengoku period. If Riku was here, he could break this shit down. He loves all that stuff. Matter of fact, didn't we watch that anime Sengoku Basara, which is inspired by that, obviously, but they threw mechs in there because anime, late 16th century, all that good jazz, warring states period as they call. But yeah, it's hard for me to talk much because the trailer was just a CG trailer, no gameplay.
It's a little. My biggest gripe with this thing is it's like it doesn't look like anything special.
Yeah,
it's like finally they've gotten to a Japan, and it really just looks like, all right, Gennaro, ninja woman, assassin girl, and then the other character, the samurai, just kind of boring looking too.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just seeing it, the idea of Assassin's Creed Japan was cool, but then finally seeing it, just was like, eh. But I mean, we'll see what the gameplay looks like. But I don't know. So far, I'm not really impressed. I personally, I was sort of skipping through the trailer.
I didn't watch most of it because I was doing the same thing. I'm like, okay, whatever. I've gotten to a point where if it's a CG trailer, I check out. Like mentally,
I mean, like I like it. Like I'm okay with the CG trailer being the final trailer for the game, like what they did with Death Stranding or a lot of
the final one,
Spider-Man. Yeah, like they always have that really kind of cool, sexy looking commercial trailer where everything looks all nice and cool. But like when you have like your first reveal, this game is just a proof of concept like CG trailer. The game is coming out like this November, right?
Yeah, November 15th. Yeah. No last gen, which is very good. No last gen. Finally.
I mean, it's not like I'm sure it's not going to be like a tour de force of anything anyway.
Yeah, right? No, I mean it's probably gonna. Shout out to Chris who just showed up. What's going on, man?
Yo.
Yeah, we're talking about the Assassin's Creed right now.
Assassione.
But yeah, so yeah, set in Japan, like Ubisoft, they went back on their word, I guess. But it was coming. You knew it was coming. When they did that Assassin's Creed China game, remember it was like a side story. I'm like, okay, they're dipping their toes. They're seeing what's up, Yeah. But this is like full on. But yeah, let's get into the characters, which is obviously the big cause for controversy here. So the samurai is a character called Yosuke. That's not his real name. That's the name Nobunaga gave him. Basically, he was an African slave. Portuguese guy, went to Japan, and everybody, Nobunaga specifically was impressed by this guy, by his how big he was, obviously how strong he was. Even in and by the way, just got to clear this out because, actually I'll get to it later because I kind of feel both sides of the people on this argument are being stupid. Because you have one side, they're like, oh, you're just making shit up. How you gonna have black people in Japan? Yosuke was an actual guy, right? But then the other side is like, oh, he was the first black samurai. He wasn't actually a samurai. So you guys are both wrong on that end. But he was a real figure, right? And it kind of makes sense for what Assassin's Creed likes to do. It's like they want to have like kind of an outsider person be their main protagonist. So I get that. And even here, the thing I'm reading, it said, his story is so open-ended they could kind of go where they want with him because they're, real dude, but very sparse things. We know that he was a retainer for Nobunaga. He did fight, so he had skills. But other than that, not much is known. So
yeah, they did. Yeah. There's not much of what he did, and there's only this very sparse mentions of him, like when Nobunaga met him just from a Jesuit missionary.
Yeah.
That he was a slave to that guy.
Yeah.
So there's only a few letters about him. Maybe that guy saying, okay, yeah, I'm glad he survived, and Nobunaga having a couple of things in there, but nothing about his adventures or anything that he had done. So it's like, but I mean, I feel like in general, that's the idea that that's a Assassin's Creed at no point is ever considered anything realistic, right?
Yeah.
They get it close enough, but freaking Israel was not really that big. It was a lot bigger in in one of those games, in real life.
No, I was going to say Assassin's Creed. Yeah, you're right. It was never 100% realistic, but in the beginning, they at least the upper portion was a real thing. The under shit, like obviously Atlantis and all this other stuff, was fake. Yeah, but starting with Origins, they were like, okay, fuck it, we don't care anymore. like in Odyssey, they had fucking Greek monsters and shit. So this right here, the revisionist history, and remember, Ubisoft specifically said this is a modified history of Yosuke, right? So. But it aligns with the last three games where they've just been fucking batshit crazy, Yeah,
they've been. They're playing with playing in the playground of history, right? So they make up a bunch of additional things. Like whereas the original ones seemed a little bit more interested in a bit of the history. Now it's like, okay, now we're already in fantasy land now.
Yeah. In the original, go ahead, Carlos. Yeah,
except for Leonardo da Vinci, that dude.
He invented everything.
Essentially making him like James Bond, like
he was
like
Q.
James
He
Bond.
was Q. Yeah. But you can still see how they were trying to fit in the fake shit with the real shit. But yeah, with Origins, they're like, fuck it, let's just go nuts, you know. But so I get that from that standpoint. So that's kind of interesting. And then you have we'll talk about more Yosuke in a bit. And then later on you have Naoe. She's a called the Blade of the People. She's a shinobi. So that's kind of interesting. So because in the other Assassin's Creed games where you had two characters, they both played the same, right? So these are two completely different fighting styles. And I'm wondering, like, you know, with Yosuke, like, he can't be climbing shit with all that armor. You know, it's like, that's going to look weird. But whereas
they do it in the Ronin game.
With all the armor and shit. Oh, that's true. He's swinging and shit.
Same thing with Ghost of Tsushima. He's on rooftops with full
that is
armor,
true.
So.
Yeah, you know what? And like we just said, they're kind of just throwing realism out the window. By the way, I'm going to call Naoe Ninja Girl from now on. Fuck it, sue me.
Ninja Girl.
She's Ninja Girl now. But obviously, she's going to be doing all this cool stuff. So I'm interested to see how they differ in fighting styles. You know,
they seem to suggest that he's like the heavy. Like they have that giant spike back thing. Yeah, I think that's what they're trying to say. Like he's going to be slower. Like he's going to probably be more powerful, you know, and then she's like the more stealthy, sneaky character.
Yeah. And they said, you know, their stories going to interweave, but apparently you could switch between them whenever you want. So that'll be it. I'm guessing there's going to be narrative points. Yeah, but I'm guessing there's going to be narrative points where you're stuck as playing as one of them. But kind of like Grand Theft or Spider-Man, when they come together, then you can start switching between the two. So that's kind of interesting. But obviously, like I said, there's been some drama going on with Yosuke. People think, oh, you're making shit up. No, they're not making shit up, but they're embellishing real stuff for sure. You know.
Yeah. Like I said, there's a lot left to just to not a lot to be space in between to sort of fill it in with things. But this wouldn't be the first time Yosuke got a
yeah, he's been adapted or whatever a bunch of times.
Yeah, he got adapted. Like he was just in the Namco game.
Yeah, Neo. He was in that.
Yeah, he's in Neo, but he's totally different in that. Like that's way farther away. It seems like a lot, but it's like he's in that one. He's a samurai too.
Yeah, but I think because there's fucking demons and shit in that game, they're like, this is already fake. You know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because Neo wasn't even trying to be.
Because I think
go ahead.
He's also not a main character in that game. He's like a side character.
That's true.
He's somebody that you meet.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm surprised that nobody said anything about that.
Yeah, no, nobody said that. Also, nobody. But again, probably because they don't know him. Like, you realize the main character here looks like Elric, right? Just throwing that out there. Again, Elric, the most copied character you've never heard of. You know?
Yep. Yeah.
But yeah, let's go ahead.
Also, that's a double. The Neo is also a double one because he's playing that Dutch guy.
Yeah.
The guy who's he's in that show that's on right now on FX. Shogun. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
He's playing that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that guy.
All right, who else wants to jump in?
The White Samurai.
The White Samurai, yeah.
Quote.
Oh man! Like, what about having a Japanese guy in a Japanese game? You know what? I'm just throwing that out. I'm sorry, it's how to throw that out there. It's like, hey, at least Ghost of Tsushima did it, and Japan was very grateful for that. Apparently, some Japanese people are very upset by this game. One guy I saw his comment. He said, "Oh, now I know what cultural appropriation feels like." Like, damn, that's crazy.
I mean, like usually Japanese people, when it comes to stuff like that, I mean, obviously they want you, even if it is a person that's being dressed up as that character, like, or not dressed up, but like, has their culture, as long as they're being respectful to it, they've usually been like, all right, this is fine. Was this a westernized Japanese person or a Japanese person that said this?
It was translated.
Because usually they're pretty.
Yeah, it was translated. Before we move on, I still find that this one comment funny from a Japanese developer about Ghost of Tsushima. He's like, "Hey, you know what? I really like their depiction of the Japanese side, because if it was a Japanese studio that made that game, he would have been a pretty boy." It's like, I'm glad he was ugly. I found that so hilarious, because that would have been true. That dude would have had like a pop idol or whatever.
I mean, that's also kind of a smack in the face of the guy who plays him, because that dude's not ugly.
Yeah, I know.
But I mean, here's the thing, like, just to say this, like, he is a very Japanese-looking Japanese person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he looks, like, in other words, like, usually with their games, they gotta get a Japanese look, but they also look a little anime at the same time.
Yeah.
Their eyes are a bit bigger. So
Yeah. Logic wins. He goes, "A Japanese guy playing a samurai crazy talk. I want Tom Cruise." Remember that skit in Chappelle? He's like The Last Samurai, starring Tom Cruise. That's like, I can't say the N word. Like The Last N Word on Earth, starring Tom Hanks.
Well, but the thing about, here's the crazy thing. Like, The Last Samurai officially is not Tom Cruise. He's never at any point a samurai. The Last Samurai is, what's his face?
Watanabe
from the Godzilla films.
What's his name again?
Let Them Fight. It's that guy. Let Them Fight guy.
Yeah, his name's
it
is Ken Watanabe. Yeah,
it's Ken Watanabe. Yeah. He's officially the Last Samurai.
Yeah,
that's who he is. He is absolutely, because in history, he is playing that in Japanese history. There was that one last samurai who decided, who was, adamant at staying, loyal and all this sort of stuff, while the whole country was sort of moving to modern Westernism.
Yeah. Blitz goes, "Where's my Maori samurai?" Why not, right? Also, I could have a whole conversation about this other comment he just said, because this is a conversation Manny and I have had for many years. He goes, "The world is only white or black characters, it seems." Yeah, what about Hispanic people? Anyway, before I go down that rabbit hole, go ahead, Carlos, get in here, man.
I will say this: and I don't. It's obviously, I don't know how someone should feel about their culture and stuff, but the thing that I think about when I heard that comment that you mentioned about apparently the Japanese dude tweeting about not liking the game because they didn't have a Japanese guy.
Yeah,
there's like a million samurai games.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
which is the reason why Ubisoft didn't want to do a Japanese game for Assassin's Creed. If
this was the only samurai game or one of the few, because games based off of Japan are just impossible to make, then I understand. But if this whole scenery and time period and it's been played out, so it's like I understand wanting to have a Japanese man in particular, because there is a Japanese person in this game as a protagonist. But we have a million samurai games.
But it's not supposed to be officially. Assassin's Creed has never been that type of game. It's more ninja, and that is what.
Yeah, the Assassins were pretty much ninjas.
Play.
Yeah,
they wanted to play ninja, like an actual ninja game, as opposed to like, hey, look, samurai guy.
We've had a lot of ninja games too, though.
There is a lot of ninja games, but there is not a lot of ninja games that treat like the whole assassination part of being a ninja.
Yeah,
they don't do the assassination part.
Yeah, so I think that's the part people want,
and they're doing all of that stuff.
Yeah,
I think that's why people felt like it was a given. Like, oh shit, you're literally playing a ninja assassin. Just they're not called a ninja. They're a So what if you played that in an actual game?
Yeah, go ahead, Carlos.
So. Yeah, if you make a game about Aztec culture and the protagonist is a white guy, then I'll have a problem with it. Because there's no games about Aztecs except for like what was that? I forgot the name of that one game.
The Last Aztec.
The Last Aztec.
Starring Ryan Gosling. Oh man, do you guys think the comparisons between Shadows and Ghost of Tsushima are warranted? I don't know if they're warranted or not, but they're inevitable. They're inevitable.
It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's
Remember
gonna
when
happen,
Ghost of
because,
Tsushima
like,
came out? What did people say? Oh shit, Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah,
but I mean, like he is in that game. He is going from being a samurai into being a ninja. Pretty much, right?
Yeah, pretty much. No, logic wins. I get it. He goes, one is clearly an action adventure game, another one's a full-fledged RPG. I disagree. I don't think Assassin's Creed. Yeah, I don't think that's
Assassin's Creed was never.
I think
really
both of them are
RPG.
action adventure games. Just because you throw in some like RPG shit in there, like loot boxes, doesn't make it an RPG.
Or big red numbers decide to pop up out of characters.
Yeah,
they got rid of that, right, from Assassin's Creed. Whatever.
No, you can still enable them if you want.
No, silly numbers.
Yeah, you can still do that. Brian, get in here, man. What are your thoughts? Mr. Manjoma, because he's not around. I'll go to Richard Bailey Jr. next.
All right. Well, first and foremost, Ghost of Tsushima is the GOAT.
Yes.
So I want to clarify that comment that asked about the comparisons. That will always be at the top of the list. So let's clarify that.
And Richard, real quick, Ghost of Tsushima now available on PC, people.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, but just be aware. If you are in a country that doesn't have PSN, I don't know if you're going to be able to access that game. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, continue.
So as for this game, I did get a chance to play Rise of the Ronin. We spoke about that before on the show. I did get a chance. Obviously, Ghost of Tsushima, I got that platinum. So I do plan to check out this game only because I want to see what aspects of this game will be different from any other Assassin's Creed game. I've already heard they have removed some stuff and replaced it with stuff that has been in other games. Like, for example, that eagle is not in this game, but they have brought something back that's similar to something that was in another Assassin's Creed game. So I am curious to see what's different about it. But as for the choice of characters, I understand the controversy of the characters. My main question will be, is the character a good, memorable character that I actually like? That's the only thing I care about. And as far as Assassin's Creed games go, Ezio is still at the top of my list.
Oh, yeah.
As one of the best characters that they've had in the entire series. They've had others that were pretty good, but he's still at the top of the list. So that's all I care about, whether or not these characters are good, if I care about the character. And obviously you guys mentioned that this guy is sort of like a tank. So I want to see how those play styles are different. As for the cinematic trailer, I agree 100% with what you said, Tony. I don't like when they show these cinematic trailers and this is the first time you see the game. I understand they want it to look as good as possible to, leave a positive impression. But we are going to see this game in a couple of weeks when they have the Ubisoft Forward. So we are going to see gameplay. That's fine. But yeah, I understand they wanted to have a great first impression. The trailer is okay, but yeah, I need to see the actual gameplay. So, but yeah, I do plan to check it out just because, I do like the Assassin's Creed series, even though it is nothing like how the original story was from the very beginning. But we'll see how that goes. But yes, they definitely are late to the party with this setting.
Yeah, for sure. Chris, what are your thoughts, man?
Well, I haven't played a Assassin's Creed game in a long time, but this game, I don't know. The controversy aside, I'm not really interested in it. I feel like they did this to kind of create some buzz, in order to get attention to it and sales, because you got to sell those $130 editions somehow, right? So just create some controversy and then get everybody talking about it. All of a sudden, people are paying attention to it. But other than that, it's like everybody has said before, Ghost of Tsushima is a great game. You have Rise of Ronin, whatever. You have all these other games to compare it to. Tony has said this before. Ubisoft was not interested in putting a game in Japan. Now all of a sudden they put a game, an Assassin's Creed game in Japan, right? I thought it was played out, but now all of a sudden, they need money, so they put a game in Japan. But for me personally, I'm not interested in Assassin's Creed at all anymore. I haven't played it since Ezio.
Oh wow.
I didn't even play 3, so yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't. Yeah, 3. But let's say that about that, the better. But yeah, okay. Let's try one more time. Brian, are you around, sir?
Yes, I am around.
So, what are your thoughts
You
on?
guys caught me in the middle of eating.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Man. Go ahead.
I've never really cared that much about these games, to be fair. So to me, it was just okay. It's just another game. Whatever. I just find it really funny that you guys are really annoyed that the first thing they show is a CGI trailer. Like, I've always had this issue with just the whole of gaming in a nutshell. It's like, hey, let's show off CGI trailer. It's like, no, let's show off the game. Okay, I think this is why Toronto and I were always like, let's see the gameplay, because showing off the CGI trailer means nothing. It's how they want it to be. Fine, I understand that. But at the same time, how many times have we seen a CGI trailer and the gameplay is nothing like it, and the expectations just fell off the cliff? So I'm just kind of like, okay, it's. I am happy that you guys are finally are getting to the point where you're equally as annoyed at CGI trailers as I am. So I'm happy in that. So I'll take that.
Yeah, Brian, I joined you in that in around 2020. I finally hit the breaking point. I was like, okay, I'm done with
everyone
this shit.
gets there.
Yeah, but we all get there.
Yeah.
It's just some of us are slower. You've been there for many more years than us. So shout out to you.
But yeah, I haven't seen the trailer because, again, I just didn't have any love for the franchise. I think the last proper one that I finished was Syndicate, and then I tried Odyssey. Yeah, Odyssey. I got like 20 minutes in, an hour in, and I was like, I'm really not having fun with this. It just doesn't feel right. Like, it's called
like work,
Assassin's
right?
Creed. Well, it just felt like it didn't feel like an Assassin's Creed, Like, I want to assassinate people and plan that, not run in and just fight people, Like, that's not how the game should be. Like, it shouldn't reward you for that. And then it was the idea that you could do a takedown and then it won't kill someone, so then you have to fight them. It's like, why? The whole point is you are an assassin. Like, you do assassin stuff, I mean, it's like making a Blade film without having Blade in it. It makes no sense. It's stupid.
Yeah. So,
yeah, I'm just not caring. And then after Tony's reception of Valhalla, I was like, yeah, the franchise has just suffered from bloat. So I just see this as more potential bloat. So as Tony said, this will be like a 400-hour game where it's just filler for 90%, and that's it. And yeah, I presume that at some point there'll be a DLC for dragon stuff.
yeah. Oh my God, you already know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
So yeah, that's my thoughts.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the controversy, if you have any?
Well, it's quite simple. I find it really fascinating. The arguments being thrown on all sides. It's interesting because on the one hand, people like to say, this is based on the marketing by Ubisoft. So
yeah,
I'm just going off of that. They say that this is the story of the Black Samurai, or see the story of Yusuke, like the samurai. Like they keep mentioning that he was a samurai, but even though that Wikipedia articles say that he wasn't a samurai, and there's no real documentation to say that he was a samurai, and then somehow Wikipedia just magically changes itself overnight,
Isn't that something?
Out of nowhere. Fascinating enough, to remove the fact that he was or was not a samurai because it's not in the interest of the public. And then people are saying, oh yeah, he was a retainer, which is not a samurai. And then some people are saying, oh yeah, retainers are a type of samurais. And then there's other people going off saying that, oh, it doesn't matter anyway because the game's not based on real life. It's like, I just don't care about it all. It seems, again, we all know why Ubisoft is doing this. It's obvious. If you don't know by now, then I don't think you're really checking into to people and their motives. And again, for the most part, as I said, I don't really care that much. Like they've been doing this ever since they added a playable female character. I think was in. I know the Syndicate was.
Oh, Assassin's Creed Liberation, black female, by the way. Just throwing that out there. People forgot about that. And also, Yasuke here is not the first playable black protagonist in Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed
No, it's not.
Freedom Cry, if you remember that, you know?
I did
That was
because I got all the trophies.
Yeah.
She's isn't that the one where that was the PSP one, right?
Yeah, the Assassin's Creed Liberation and then Freedom Cry was the DLC to Black Flag. Yeah.
Yep.
That had her in it.
No. But Freedom Cry was the black dude, right? Who was also in Black Flag. Then Assassin's Creed Liberation was the girl.
Yeah, but Liberation came first, though.
Yeah, Liberation came first. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just not surprised that they went down this route.
Thank you, Logic Wins. Yeah, he was a good protagonist too. I liked him.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah, he was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole controversy is kind of they brought this on themselves, and they knew what they were doing, and it seemed like they don't care, and people are annoyed, and I can understand the frustration if you're a Japanese person, because obviously, if you look down the history of Assassin's Creed games, it's always been the protagonist comes from that area. You know, like you have one set in Egypt, so hence you get Egyptian people. You have one set in Greece, hence you get Greek people. You have one set in London, you get London people. You get one set in what other places? Italy, you get Italian people.
Middle Eastern, you know.
Exactly. And then suddenly comes to the one set in Japan, and you get the black guy who was not Japanese by definition. Like he came, as someone said, he came from Italy, you said?
No, it was Portugal. Portuguese. Yeah. Granted, they do have a Japanese girl in there, so there's that.
Yes.
You know?
People forget about her.
Yeah, and she is an actual ninja assassin. You know, yeah, she is made up. Yeah, not a historical person. Yeah, so there's that, Brian. At least you know. But I understand where if you're Japanese, I understand where they're coming from. You know.
Yeah, I understand the issues, but again, coming from the outside, it's more of a case of I just don't care that much. I'm kind of sat more with Rich on this, where as long as they do him well and he's well written and he has a good arc in the story, then that's more important than anything else. But again, I do not believe that they will do that. Yeah. I don't think they're capable of doing it.
I think it's important to also state to the fans and to anyone listening that none of us in the panel really care about Assassin's Creed to begin with.
I wouldn't say that because I was a huge fan of the franchise and my interest has started waning, even though I still play every single fucking game that comes out, you know?
For me, the last Assassin's Creed game I'd ever played was Assassin's Creed 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that I had to make that modification. I'm still playing all the Assassin's Creed games. I'll probably play this one too, you know, because I'm fucking dumb. But it is what it. The only Assassin's Creed games I didn't play were Unity and Rogue, which kind of came out at the same time.
But the reason I mention is because we're kind of all like nonchalant about the game because none of us really care about it to begin with.
Yeah, so it is like, what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know, it's not even whatever they do, whatever controversy it has, however it performs. None of us really are that invested into this franchise as much as we used to.
Yeah.
At least back in the Assassin's Creed 2 days or Black Flag.
Yeah, man. Black Flag, you know, but I like Syndicate too, man. I still think Syndicate was the last real Assassin's Creed game before they changed it up completely, you know, but like to the core changed it, you know. That was a good game, man. I miss that. All right. moving on here. Yeah, I know. The problem with Rogue, it came out on PS3. I'm like, I'm already on PS4, baby. You know, and I know they release it on PC. I think I may have it, but it missed that boat. You know, Yes, I realized there's a pun in there because that was a boat game too. You know. All right, let's move on. What would have been our main story of the week until the Assassin's Creed came out? I talk about Square Enix, man. This is interesting stuff happening there. You know, as usual, Square Enix not happy with their projections. They were disappointed by Final Fantasy 16, Final Fantasy Rebirth, and Rich's favorite game, Foam Stars. All those underperformed, according to them. And now they're going to do an aggressive. They're going to do like an aggressive purge, apparently, and they're going to start putting out more games on multi-plat. Because remember, all those games I just mentioned were all PS5 exclusives. So their thinking is, hey, if we have them on all consoles, we'll make more money. You know, and they're going to do other stuff, but you know, unfortunately, they also add some layoffs. You know, I think it was over like 30 developers, probably even more than that. So weird, interesting stuff happening with Square Enix. I think they now know. Because remember, there's been other stuff happening with Square Enix before this, right? We had the failure of the Marvel game, right? The fucking Avengers game. We had Flop Spoken, you know, and all these other games that just lost them a fuck ton of money. And they're bleeding right now. So like, okay, we gotta change course here. You know, so I get it, but yeah, unfortunately, some of this did come at a cost of, you know, some of their team. You know, Rich, what's your take on this, man?
Well, let me make a quick comment. If Square Enix listens to this podcast, I do have some advice. Don't bother bringing Flop Stars to Xbox. don't even think about it, because. And I was surprised they even counted that, because that was on PS Plus that game was on. Yeah. You know, so I didn't know. I don't know anyone that actually bought that game, if they even bothered to play it. But I know I damn well didn't play it. So it is what it is. But yeah, it's not. I mean, first and foremost, yes, it sucks to hear about people losing their jobs. We've been hearing these stories for quite some time, going into last year, all the layoffs, and of course this year probably one of the worst. But as for the games and as for their result, I mean, it makes sense to me. Yeah, you should make your stuff multi-platform. You know, you definitely can make more money, especially on PC. And you know, I do expect Rebirth to come to PC. Isn't Remake already on PC?
No, not yet. Not yet.
I thought it's not. Okay,
Remake is not Rebirth.
Oh no! You said he's asking.
Oh yeah, Remake.
Yeah, Remake.
Yeah,
is. Yeah,
so,
Remake is.
Yeah, Remake
so I do expect.
Yeah, and that took a while.
I do expect Rebirth to get there.
Yeah,
And Final Fantasy 16 is on PC too, right?
I don't think so.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think so.
So it makes sense that they would do this strategy. Of course, we'll have to see exactly how this works out. But one thing I will say, you already mentioned this, Tony. Square Enix has some very outrageous expectations. I remember back in the day when Tomb Raider came out, and they was disappointed in how that done. And that was actually those games were pretty good. So I don't think they'll ever be satisfied with whatever amount of money they're making, but we'll have to see how this works out for them.
Yeah, Rich, to your point, the first Tomb Raider game that they released, you know, like the mid-2000s, the game sold 5 million copies in like 2 months, and they were disappointed by that. I'm like, could you imagine any other studio if they sold 5 million? They'd be screaming that shit off the roofs, you know? But not Square Enix. It did not meet our expectations. The game eventually went on to sell over 10 million, and they were still like, did not meet our expectations. You know, they're like that parent you can never satisfy no matter what. You know, it's like, I got straight A's. Okay, but why aren't you the CEO of the school or some shit like that? You know, like, damn. Okay. It's crazy, man. But anyway, continue.
Oh, no, I agree. That's all I was going to say. So I am curious to see what this means. Of course, I'm assuming they're going to be announcing some more games in the future. So I guess we'll have to wait and see if all those games are coming to Nintendo and Xbox and PC.
Yeah, that's the plan. They said they want to bring their games to Nintendo, PC, and Xbox. So They'll put them on Xbox, and they won't. I wonder if they're going to put them on Game Pass. I don't think that'd be a good idea. You know, you want to make your money, you don't put it on Game Pass. You know, that's how you lose money.
I would think that maybe some sort of deal could be struck with them if they wanted to do that, because officially they haven't been available. A lot of their games have not been available on the Xbox in a while. So
yeah,
who knows?
Don't put Final Fantasy on Game Pass. Don't do it. You want to make money.
Don't do it on a day one.
Yeah. Yeah, not on day one, not day ever. You know, maybe for like a month, you know, just to give people a taste. But yeah, very interesting how they're just, you know, I'm wondering if other companies are going to start restructuring things too. Square-Enix, yeah, very interesting because, you know, unlike Capcom and Sega, you know, they haven't done very well. Like those two companies and Nintendo too, and I'm specifically talking about Japanese companies, Capcom, Nintendo, Sega weathered the COVID storm pretty well, you know. They weren't kind of stupid, frivolous with their money. Square-Enix was just operating like a Western company, you know.
But I feel like also a lot of the things is that they were releasing a lot of games that were not like they were too the amount of money they spent on it was way too high.
Yeah,
and and then they expected it to be expected too much from these games.
Yeah,
there's also a lot of games that are in there like that are sort of middle A titles that really didn't do any sort of anything either. So they're pretty much throwing a bunch of games out there just to, you know, so they're not to do any numbers at all.
Yeah. But you know something bad when their main franchise, Final Fantasy, ain't hitting, you know? So a restructuring was definitely in the cards. But like I said, they had some layoffs as well, you know? Go ahead.
I just want to ask a question. As a Final Fantasy fan, is the franchise, you know, where is it? I mean, remember back in our day, you know, Final Fantasy was a franchise people fucking shut their lives for.
Yeah.
Remember, you know, anytime it's like, oh shit, Final Fantasy, even in the shitty Final Fantasies like 10. I don't know, it wasn't shitty, but it was, you know, it was.
Don't talk shit about 10, you talk about 13, you know?
No, 13, especially 13. People lost their minds, people lost their minds to 13 because it was multi-plat, but it's a franchise that people, you know, would go crazy over. And now it just seems like even 7, the remakes, which is, you know, the most popular of the whole entire franchise, it's just not that type of, you know, zeitgeist type game anymore. Obviously, people still know what Final Fantasy is, but not as many people go at lengths to play the game like they used to, the same types of flocks. So it's just, you know, it's not surprising. And you're making it an exclusive to one platform. It's pretty crystal clear what the franchise is going to do after that.
I mean, it's an interesting one because it's like it is also the platform that has the most saturation, right? Just be, you know, like obviously, you know, if you were doing, I mean, like how many, like obviously, okay, if you put it on Xbox, how far would that get you? Even Xbox is already claiming that they're not making enough out of whatever they're getting.
Yeah, I think putting the games on PC will help a lot.
PC,
though.
Yeah, definitely a PC one, but like, you know, who's to say that these PC versions will be any good?
Yeah,
they've had some pretty lousy PC ports created from their games.
Yeah, so they got to work on that.
We'll see what that turns out to be.
Yeah, I agree with that. Real quick, Logic Win says Square-Enix will be fine. Is Dragon Quest generally more successful than Final Fantasy in Japan? Yeah, in America it's the other way around. In America it's the other way around.
Yeah, in America it's the other way around. But also the thing about it, I'm not sure if they spend nearly as much on a Dragon Quest as they do on a Final Fantasy these days.
Yeah, who knows? Because those games get pretty like lavish, you know.
They've only recently got really lavish.
Yeah,
I mean,
like Dragon Quest 11, like they had like full orchestras and everything. Like
but that was like after they did 8, they were all a bunch of handheld games.
Yeah, but I'm talking about 11. So, yeah, you're right. Those were not obviously. And then Dragon Quest 12, they've been working that shit for fucking 7 years now or something. You know, so they're definitely going in. That who knows what's going to happen with that one. Imagine FF7 Rebirth and 16 on Steam Deck. Yeah, it'll happen. I mean, you got a remake on it. Who made this? There was a comment here I wanted to comment. Yeah, Blitz goes, since FF13, the franchise dropped off. 13, for all its faults, was an event. Yeah, I that was fucking huge when that was announced. 13.
Lightning.
Yeah, Lightning. That was an event. I would say yes. That is the last time, Carlos, to use your phrasing, where the world stopped when a Final Fantasy game came out. You know.
Yeah.
But after that, yeah. Go ahead.
Honestly, and Tony, this is probably the last game me and you ever had a big disagreement on about whether we liked it or not.
That's true. You know, it's funny enough. I was thinking about that too. It's like I was thinking just random, like, you know, Carlos and I have like almost the exact same, not only the same game taste, but also the same predilections for technology. You know, like, and I thought about this when I was testing this desktop with a fucking 4080 Super. Excuse me. Yo, when I saw that shit had 16 gigs of VRAM, I'm like, I'm turning everything up right now, son. I got Doom Eternal. I got that shit running at 400 fucking frames. I don't even need that many frames.
Can't even see it.
Yeah, you can't even see it. And the monitor was only 240 hertz, you know?
Dang.
And then the funny thing is that I jumped over to Cyberpunk, right? And I was like, yo, why should shit like, okay, so the frame rate said 87 frames a second, and this shit looks like it was stuttering. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, Tony, you just came down from like 240 frames a second effectively, you know? Shit is crazy, you know? And then here's the funny, and then I played Dirt 5, right? And it was a 2K monitor, right? It was like 135 frames a second. I'm like, oh wait, let me play it at the native resolution, 215. I'm like, you don't even need that many frames, but the fact it does it is cool, you know? So yeah, but that's my point. It's like you get as excited about that shit as I do, you know? Like, how many frames can I squeeze out of this motherfucker?
give me the extra frames.
You know? And that's why when I play, you know, like games on PS5 and they can't hit those frame rates, it's like, come on, bro. You can't even give me 60 here.
Nope.
You know,
you get 30.
You get 30, and you're gonna like it.
I mean, to be honest, like, you're complaining that I'm
not complaining. I am just like, oh, it's a little upsetting, but I understand it's a console. I mean, you know,
there's nothing to be upset about. You're getting what you get. Like, unless you're paying for an expensive computer, you know, for a computer, you're not going to get any of that. And I feel I feel like it's a moot point to even mention any of that. At least hit 60, but you know it's not going to hit 60.
Although I still think my complaint about Spider-Man not hitting 45 frames a second is fucking warranted, man. I'm like, okay, you give me 30 frames as one option, you give me 60 frames another, and then the middle option is 40 frames. Come on, bro, just 5 more frames. It would be right in the middle. That's all I'm asking. You know, that's all I'm asking.
That's not how that all works, Tony, unfortunately.
I know, but still, Brian, it's the principle of it, damn it.
You're like, just add 5 more frames. Yeah, man.
Yeah. let me mess with some of the sliders real quick, man. I'm gonna see what I can get.
Like,
I got 43 frames.
And the guys at Insomniac are like, are you fucking nuts? Do you want me to light your freaking console on fire? Because that what might happen.
Yeah. Let me tweet that real quick, you know.
I mean, do I really need this chromatic aberration?
Yeah, you know, do I really need it? Yeah, he's in there for hours just looking, what can I turn off, man? What do I really need, you know? Yo, by the way, Carlos, when I played Cyberpunk, it was on like ray tracing overdrive. Fuck, you know?
Fuck.
That shit. Man. I was like, damn, man. I wish I could take this shit home. You know? Companies don't let you keep that piece of hardware, you know? Like, give that shit 30 days, like, give that shit back, bro. You know?
Don't you better get that shit back.
Better say that will kill you. Anyway,
speaking of PlayStations on fire, I gotta send mine back to the fucking return because the freaking graphics card went bad inside of it.
Bullshit.
Piece of shit.
Yeah, right. Fuck PlayStation.
I only had it for 6 months.
Yeah, real quick before we go to the next story, Manny, what's going on with your PlayStation, man? Let the fans know.
So, like, I was playing, playing some games. You know, I don't get to play a lot of games. And I was playing like a little bit of Hi-Fi Rush and some of Stellar Blade. And after this update, I get thing. All of a sudden, I start seeing all these graphical errors. These green squares and stuff start showing up all over the place. and it gets so bad that I can't even play any game without the game instantly crashing. I restart the console, see all those green squares. It's not, and I'm like, some people are like, oh, it's just the HDMI is loose, and like, no, it's actually a graphics card issue because you can literally capture it on with a screen. Like if you take a screenshot, you can literally capture all the little green squares everywhere, and it also it feeds it through remote play, so you can actually see it on your actual thing there. So it's something within the thing. So I talked to the PlayStation, and my shit's under warranty because it's been 6 months. I haven't had the damn thing for that long, so I got to send that.
And
shit
it's a
back.
slim one, right?
It's a slim one. Yeah, it's the new jam. And apparently this is an issue with a lot of PlayStations actually. Like at least the the fat one used to have this issue. So nice to see that we still have those little issues that come over.
Yo, I just got to call it out though. The fucking irony, because I'm Manny, you're on a 1080p TV, right?
Yeah, I'm not killing this console.
The fucking console's like, bro, I can't handle.
Oh my god, I can't handle Hi-Fi Rush, man. It's too graphically intense.
Blitz, to answer
two Unreal games.
Yeah, that's crazy. Blitz, to answer your question, as configured, the PC I'm testing is $3,600, which is about what this pissed me off. That's about what I paid for my current shit. That's not fucking outdated. Like, god damn it. That 4080 Super though. And it's an i9, Carlos.
Are you feature creeping, yo?
Of course, I was talking to one of the guys at work, because I was telling him, it's like, I got a 11th gen Intel chip, and I was like, oh, if I want to upgrade, I got to change the motherboard. I'm like, but that's going to lead down a slippery slope. I got to change this now. I got to get, because I got NVMe 4. I'm like, I got 5 now, and then I'm like, I'll just get a whole, yeah. So I was like. And then he was telling me, like, you should get AMD CPU. I'm like, maybe I should. So I can go down that rabbit hole, man.
Why AMD over video?
No, CPU.
Okay.
GPU, I'm sticking with NVIDIA, baby.
Yo, man, Intel ain't the jam no more.
Yeah.
Well, Intel just barely got to the CPU business.
Yeah.
Or the GPU business.
Business. Oh, with that ARC shit. Nah, It ain't hitting. I remember somebody asked, like, why isn't anyone talking about Intel Arc GPUs? Like, because they're trash. That's why.
I mean, the Intel GPUs are always just installed on their board.
But this is like a discrete. It's a discrete graphics card now that they made.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And now they're bringing some of that. Yeah, go ahead, Carlos.
Watch QL comment for the first time in 2 years saying,
"Yo, Tony,
just get with the AMD GPU."
Why don't you go with an AMD build, Tony? Why stop with the CPU? Oh man, yeah, but no, like, The by the way, the guy I was talking to was Avram from Tom's Hardware, so my man gets in. He prefers AMD CPUs because he's like I want to use all the cores. Like, I don't want just some of the cores like Intel. Oh man, good stuff. Have fun at the office, man. A bunch of nerds. All right, moving on. PlayStation. We were wondering who was going to replace our boy Jimbo. It's not someone. It's someone's. You're going to have two people taking over. And one of them you are very familiar with, Mr. Herman Holtz.
Mr. Holty.
Oh,
very
I wonder how the
interesting.
Japanese are going to feel about this one.
But they still got a Japanese guy in there,
Oh, so the Shinobu character.
Yeah, pretty much. So I'm just going to read this from IGN's. Sony will be replacing former PlayStation boss Jim Ryan with two CEOs, Hideaki Nishino and Herman Holtz. The company announced today, which was the 13th. I think that's a Monday. Effective June 1st, 2024, Hideaki Nishino will be CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment's Platform Business Group, and Herman Holtz will be CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment Studio Business Group, as revealed in a press release. Hiroki Totoki had been serving as interim CEO in the wake of Ryan's retirement and will serve as chairman of Sony Interactive Entertainment in addition to his role as president, COO, and CFO of Sony Group and Corporation. Damn, my man's busy, you know? Both Holtz and Nishino will report to Totoki. So he went from interim to like president. Pretty cool. Sony Interactive Entertainment is a dynamic and growing business that delivers. I'm not going to read all this bullshit. Here we go. As senior vice president of the Platform Experience Group, Nishino is already embedded in PlayStation hardware and tech operations. In his new role, Sony says he'll continue to be responsible for technology, product services, and platform experience, as well as overseeing third-party publisher and developer relations, commercial operations, including sales and marketing of hardware, services, and peripherals. And just so you guys know, this dude, Nishino, he's been with Sony, PlayStation, whatever, for 20 years. So my man's, got experience. Holtz.
He looks young.
He looks young, Japanese, man, don't crack. But this dude's probably 40 something. He's been there forever. He probably started there, I wouldn't be surprised. Holtz, meanwhile, is currently senior vice president and head of PlayStation Studios. In addition to developing content across PlayStation consoles and PC, he's helped oversee the growth of PlayStation IPs across film and TV through PlayStation production, I should say. Unsurprisingly, Sony's press release name drops HBO's smash hit adaptation of Naughty Dog's
The Last
of Us, developed by PlayStation Productions. In his new role, Holtz will be responsible for development, publishing, and business operations of SIE's first-party content. Holtz also posted the news on Twitter today. I'm not going to read his comment.
And Riku is pissed.
Riku is not happy.
Yeah, Riku's not happy about this
because
guy.
he feels the direction that Sony has taken this generation. He blames it all on Holtz. So there you go.
He didn't blame it on Jimbo?
No, he's like, oh, we're gonna get another remake. He's like, watch Horizon get a remake. Well, Riku, shout out to you. I know you listen to Throwdown, man. Oh man. Anyway, so yeah, what do you guys think about this?
I mean, it seems like it's like a kind of a given situation. Herman Holtz is still there, so I guess the next thing to do is just to bring him up from the other gaming division. But it's an interesting one. It's sort of like maybe it's maybe he said to them, I don't want to keep traveling to Japan, because because that was one of the things that Jim Ryan would say he didn't like all the travel. So
yeah,
I guess he's just to stay whatever he is and handle whatever things he has on his end.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, it doesn't. It's still pretty much the same people. The same bunch of people. It's not like somebody from another division so it's still people within their thing. So we'll see what they do. I mean, to be honest, they need to open up a fucking Japanese studio.
Yeah. When you said they didn't bring in anybody from another division, I just imagined like Aaron Greenberg showing up.
Yeah, Greeny.
I'm Bluey now, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll see.
Yeah,
but I'm not. I can't say either here nor there. Like one thing about Herman Holt is he's sort of like he was head of that division, but he barely talked. Like he barely showed up. You'd always see Jim Ryan making these announcements. Like at least when he was the other regime, you saw multiple people sort of coming in like, hey, yeah, I'm blah blah from this division, or hey, this from this. It wasn't always just Andrew House.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
yeah,
and,
go ahead.
What?
No. If anybody else has any thoughts on this,
I feel like this is just kind of a little bit of status quo, in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, Herman Holtz was pretty pivotal person in the Jimbo era. He's just going to be sort of a little bit more power than he used to. And the other guy, I have no clue. He's like the big picture guy.
Yeah.
Herman is like all right, let's get these studios, let's get these games, let's do this and this. So yeah, I feel like it's kind of more status quo. I mean, hopefully all we can hope for is that this tenure is way better than Jimbo's tenure, because like Riku said, the direction they've been going in has not been good, and he's right, and they with this new direction, hopefully they can steer a little bit more to another side, and but will that manifest? We won't know until it's time.
Yeah,
probably won't take 10 years like a certain guy's thing to come to fruition.
Which still hasn't come to fruition.
Yeah, how's that going?
It's not going. That's the problem. But yeah,
he's got more studios to close down.
Oh man.
Oh wait. Hold on. Manny, say it again. Say it again. How's it going?
How's it going?
It's going elsewhere.
Shoot it! Yes, indeed. But my this is the most pivotal question. How are the memes going to work now? Because usually you had one guy as the CEO that you would use in the memes. So they're going to use both guys, or is it just going to be Herman Holtz? It's probably just going to be Herman Holtz now, Because
it'll be Herman Holtz, and then it'll be two warring Twitter accounts.
Yeah.
You'll have two fake CEOs, two additional fake CEOs, going, contradicting each other, and then you'll have the fake creator of PlayStation 1.
Yeah, I miss him, by the way. Yes, CEO Kaz Hirai, he was great. He retired.
The fake Kaz Hirai.
Yeah, he retired.
Oh, he retired?
Oh yeah, he retired years ago. He retired during I think it was E3 2018. He's like, I'm going to retire after this. That was probably the greatest Twitter account ever. CEO Kaz Hirai. That was fantastic. All right, so there you go. And speaking about Sony, let's get into it. Financials, baby. You already know. So, Chris, I'm going to give the floor over to you, and let's dig into these Sony financials, man.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Hold on.
Man, you already know I'm hyped for this shit. And I know Chris is very grateful that Sony breaks down everything nicely, unlike Microsoft, where it's like, where's the Xbox? Got to take out your magnifying glass and shit. Talk to this dude down there. Maybe he knows something. But yeah, there's okay. Ooh, I saw something. Okay. There you go. We're gonna keep doing that. Chris is getting ready. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me just restart Discord because I'm having an issue.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, them numbers. You already. Oh, yeah, we'll give Chris a second here. But yeah, and then there's gonna be some stuff related to the financials we want to break down, but. From what I understand, it's like things are finally slowing down with the PlayStations. Which again, that COVID surge, it's like the tide is receding. So I know things are a little bit lower, but Chris will break all that down momentarily once he's all set up here. Oh, it happened again. What the fuck's going on with Discord? Discord, you better not deny us those numbers. I'll fuck you up.
Discord has been doing something weird today, though.
Oh, was it?
Just vamp a little bit. I don't know. Yeah, it's like it starts and then stops.
I noticed that. I noticed that here. Yeah.
Are you using the app or the
Oh no, I'm using the app. Yeah, I download the app.
Yeah. What the fuck did I link to here? Anyway, so yeah, we'll, Chris, if you need to restart again, I guess, or do you have to restart your whole PC?
I hope not.
Man!
If we have another topic, we can do that while.
Chris, you want us to do that?
Yeah. Just
okay. I'll skip. Yeah, I'll skip some of the PlayStation related stuff here. Sadly, Hi-Fi Rush is about to receive its final patch.
Already did.
Yeah. So there you go.
That's there.
Or it has received its final patch.
Is that what broke Manny's PlayStation?
Maybe.
No, it wasn't that. Well, that patch. Well, one of the things that they were saying, at least for the limit, this is multiple things. One of the things that Limited Run Games said that they were waiting for before they released the physical edition of Hi-Fi Rush was the final patch, which essentially addresses a bunch of the issues that it had, a bunch of different issues that it had on multiple things, They say they fixed up a bunch of different things. Yeah. So that should already be available right now. So
Yeah, it was
That's
yesterday. Yeah,
Yep. So it's already available. So I mean, it's not like it's anything like too like huge. It's mostly just things that just fix like long-standing issues. I'm not sure what it is. What the if they did anything about making the game a little bit future-proof when the licensed music goes out of whack. But they do have a filler. Like in other words, if the game so when you play the game in streaming mode, there are there's an alternate soundtrack that the game has. So it has these sort of sound-alike tracks that replace the ones that are that are like because there's two Nine Inch Nails songs in there. There's a couple of other songs that are in there too that are licensed. So the game does have an alternate if those things are not available. But I don't know if they have like a hidden timer. Oh,
happen again. God damn it. Yeah, Chris. I guess worst case scenario, you may have to just restart your whole entire PC.
Yeah, I'll be back.
All right. Yeah, we'll keep going. But yeah, it's just a kind of people are kind of treating it as a kind of bittersweet thing. It's like the studio is going to be gone after this, so pretty sad.
So hopefully people will now that it's all in there now. So now hopefully when the finally Limited Run Games does their announcement for the for the physical edition, people will go out and buy it because that's the only way you're going to have it now. I mean, that Microsoft is not going to do any sort of upkeep on it, especially with all that background that background music. Now here's the thing. I don't exactly know how long the folks at Tango Gameworks are there till, because there's multiple you remember the London studio that Sony had?
Yeah.
That closed during the Ryan administration.
Yeah.
Recently I saw Chris for 2 seconds. Holy shit! Yeah. I haven't seen you in years.
Bring Chris back, man.
So during the Ryan administration, that London studio, one of the guys is like, "Oh yeah, today's my last day." So it's been about 6 months.
Yeah, let me catch this now. There we go. All right, let's get into it, man.
There we go.
The numbers.
Okay, finally, I got this working. All right, so. All right, it's still on, right?
Yep, we're good.
All right.
It's still on.
Yeah, because I need to go through a few tabs. So,
excuse me.
All right, so looking at the end of the fiscal year report for Sony in general, and especially I've focused on PlayStation or Games and Network Services as they call it. They are doing pretty well this year over last year. So even with, and I know it's going to come up, even with the slipping PS5 sales, overall PlayStation is up. I have my calculations here. These are in US dollars. So you can see year over year from the last fiscal year to the current one, they're up 17%. So roughly 27.44 billion in sales. And these are net sales, right? I'm not going to do operating income or anything because I'd have to factor in. They do those calculations there. People want to factor how much the business is spending, versus pulling in. And I focus on these numbers because that's what you guys care about. And I can't. Their operating income may change based on how much marketing and promotions and other stuff is going on, acquisitions. So that all factors into it. But overall, I think software is up, hardware is slightly down, but up year over year from last year. So even though this last quarter, Q4 for 2023, which ended March 31st, I think it was only 4.5 million PS5 units sold. On the year, I think it's up. Let me see. Yeah, so it's 20.8 million for the entire fiscal year, so it's up almost 9% over last year. So that's good, but like I saw with Nintendo, and they're having a downward trend that started even earlier. There's hardware slipping, there might be starting a downward trend for Sony as well. And I'll get into their forecast for the next year, but you can see I break down the pie charts. So, and for you guys listening on audio, I'll read out the percentages because I look at all the segments. I look at music, pictures, EPS, imaging, and financial services. So overall, for Sony Global, the biggest moneymaker for them is PlayStation, right? So in both the last fiscal year and this one, you have over 32% of net sales coming from PlayStation. And then you have like music is 12% and pictures is 11%, imaging is 12%. And their financial services is 13%. Although their financial services has picked up greatly. I don't know what's going on with that, and I didn't really look into it, read the speech brief on it. But it doubled since last year. So I don't know what they're doing, but it's doing great. In case anyone wanted to know.
What is that, like PlayStation credit cards or something? Like what is financial
I think
services?
they offer kind of like how Fidelity or TD Waterhouse operates.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just for Japan. Right?
Interesting. Yeah.
Like a brokerage.
Oh, it's like it's like Sony M1 or something. It's interesting.
Yeah, so
anyway, continue.
Yeah, so the only thing that suffered a little bit was EPS. I don't know if it's TV sales or what part of that is down, licensing. Not sure, but everything else year over year is doing better. So looking at software and hardware sales. So like I said, hardware was up year over year, even though the last quarter for the year it slipped. And so it was only 4.5 million, I think, in Q4. And I have the numbers here. Yeah, in the previous quarter, in Q3, it was 8.2. So it slipped by a little less than half of what they sold in Q3. But Q3, that's a big boost because it was down and then it sloped back up. I'm trying to think what released. Was it Spider-Man or? I'm not sure.
Late last year, yeah, Spider-Man 2 dropped.
Yeah. So it had to be that. Yeah.
6 months ago, yes.
Yeah, it boosted console sales. So that's where they saw a big increase. Overall, overall, their software sales are doing good, but they do combine PS4 and PS5, and I can't really filter this out. So, if anybody saw the quote from Stephen Totilo where he said that half of PSN is coming from PS4 users, right?
Yeah,
50%.
We're gonna get into that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a statement in the speech transcript, and I read it. It does say that. So you have roughly like 47.8 million active PSN subscribers. So you're looking at like like 23.5 million are coming from PS4. So that's pretty interesting. Overall, first-party titles sales are down year over year. So you had 43.5 million for the last fiscal year and 39.7 this year. This coming year, that they probably set that projection way lower. Look at that because they announced they have no first-party titles coming out in the next calendar year. So that number will look very bleak overall. So I don't have the let me open the forecast here.
All right.
Yeah, so this is the GNS breakdown, and I do like it that they do their segment breakdowns very well. So I will compliment Sony on that. So they attributed their year-over-year increase in sales to increase in sales of non-first-party titles, including add-on content, and foreign exchange rate impacted them positively. They said that also helped their operating income, but they had a slip because they have losses from hardware mainly due to promotions. So I guess overall their marketing budget went up to try to push PS5 in different regions, but PS5 sales started slipping down. And it says decrease in sales of first-party titles. So their forecast for next year, which is pretty interesting. So they lowered their forecast, and they're saying that the main reason is decrease in sales and hardware resulting from lower unit sales. So they're looking at selling less PS5s over this next year and then the beginning of next year. They do see a boost in sales of non-first party titles. So that's that's interesting. I don't know what releases they're specifically talking about, but they think that they're going to have a boost in third party sales. The other thing that was interesting impacting their forecast for their operating income is that they're saying they're going to have an increase in sales from network services, mainly PlayStation Plus. So they're predicting that PlayStation Plus subscriptions are going to pick up over this year. And it's been pretty flat the last 2 years. If you look at PSN, it's has an equal amount of like ups and downs. Like it's basically stayed between 45 and 47 million, and it hasn't gone past that. So I'm not sure what they're attributing that to. If they're going to make a change in the service of the pricing or offerings, I'm not sure where that's coming from. But that's what they said is going to affect their sales next year. And
I have a slight guess as to where they had these predictions come from. Can you think of a recent idea that Sony had where they were trying to get people to make PSN accounts?
Oh, well, so they're just going to bleed the PC market? Is that it? That's the plan?
Possibly. Again, projections. So maybe they thought, okay, we'll do this, and then accounts will go up. So who knows?
Well, that's a good point, because I was like thinking just from the console perspective. I'm like, what are you going to do? Are you going to? I was thinking the first thought I had was, oh, are they going to increase the price of PS Plus? And then increase the prices of all the tiers, but what you're saying makes more sense. That besides Helldivers and Ghost of Tsushima and stuff, their releases are probably going to be tied to PSN sales. They're going to expect, at sooner or later, they're not going to relent on people, PC players, like saying, I don't want to tie my Steam to PSN. They're probably gonna find a title that they're gonna go, no, you're gonna get this account. So we'll see. That's pretty interesting. We'll see what happens, because I don't think you can bank on that, but they are banking on it somehow. So but overall, yeah, things look good this year, but their predictions for next year, things will be down, especially hardware sales. They have no first-party titles to speak of, and third-party sales they're counting on, and PS Plus subscriptions going up. That's what they're counting on for next year, even though the projections are lowered.
Okay, that makes sense, because I remember reading that things were down, but because you started saying like, "Hey, profits are up," but what people were reporting on is the fact that Sony has lowered their projections for next year. Because we are seeing a downward trend. Like, remember, I think you just mentioned it too. It's like they planned to sell 25 million consoles, then it took it down to 21. Now it's 18. Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, they didn't hit the 21 mark. No. They were close. It was 20.8. But they had to scale it back. But that's gonna trend downward. And I have here. This is what I showed for Nintendo's charts. Yeah. You can see quarterly sales unit trends. It picked up in the third quarter for the holiday, but then it dropped precipitously. As a matter of fact, that last quarter before the end of the fiscal year was the lowest number in the entire year. 35.72 million units sold. So everything is slipping down. And I think there's a couple of things attributing that. One of the main things is that I think all the Revenge Doom spending from Ronas, that's over.
Yeah.
People don't have a lot of discretionary income anymore. Foreign exchange rates, things like that. So there's a lot of factors affecting that. So, and the Sony and Nintendo and I think all of them are taking this into account and lowering their projections for next year. See, you can see Nintendo lowered their projections for next year. Sony's doing the same thing.
Yeah, the COVID party's over.
Oh,
you
yes.
know? That shit is done. That's why we're seeing all these layoffs and shit. It's like all the money they went crazy with. It's like, all right, we got to scale back because people would rather eat than play video games.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate because when I read stuff like that and people are like, oh, you probably think, hey, they have better sales this year. What's going on with the reduction in force? Like, why are they firing people? And I don't know. Ask Jim Ryan. He's the one going around freaking cutting off heads, or he was.
Yeah, right. Oh yes, Jim Ryan. But yeah, anything else you want to break down? Because I got there's a couple of things here I want to kind of dig deeper into.
Oh yeah, no, that's pretty much it.
Everyone
had questions. So.
Fantastic as always. I want to really get into the part where like Steven Totillo reported, it's like half the PlayStation users are still on PS4. I am absolutely not surprised by that. Not at all. Yeah. Why would you need, Manny, you could attest to this, why would you need to get a PS5 if like 95% of the games, exclusives, mind you, are available on PS4? Why upgrade? Right?
There's a scant few games that the PlayStation 5 offers that are officially exclusive. We've only started getting official exclusives late last year.
Yeah. I mean, there were some sprinkled around, Ratchet and Clank, Ratchet and Clank, Returnal, obviously, Demon Souls. But you notice a lot of those were during the first part of the generation. Then, like, literally, I think 2022, we didn't see any fucking, it was either 2022 or 2023. One of those years, there was no PlayStation, like, exclusives, unless it was fucking All-Stars or something, not some nonsense like that,
So
make it, we're 4 years in. We're now in the back half, and
we're considered in the back half. And can you what can you say is the iconic game that you need to play for a PlayStation?
Nothing.
Like right now, you could theoretically say Spider-Man, but again, like I said, I think on the previous show, it's all just living off of the legacy of whatever was left over from the PlayStation 4. We're literally playing sequels and remakes and everything, all from the previous generation. What does this generation have that belongs to it? Returnal?
There is no generation-defining game for any system.
Yes, there's no, at this point in time there is nothing. Like, what does Xbox have that said that is specifically for this generation?
A fucking service, not even a game.
A service.
I
mean, you have Hi-Fi Rush, but Hi-Fi Rush is not that type of title.
Yeah, and we saw what happened in Tango Gameworks.
What's Hellblade? Hellblade is living off the legacy of the previous title.
I need to go off on Hellblade after this. I got some things to say about that. But go ahead, Rich.
Oh boy.
I just want to make a comment real quick. Because Carlos didn't mention anything. We didn't get Carlos's opinion, but obviously he was going to say, "Wait a minute, guys. What about The Last of Us Remastered, Part 2 and Part 1?
They're saving that for the PS4 Pro, for the PS5 Pro. Believe me, because they ain't got nothing else.
Yeah, exactly, Blitz. We don't have a flagship current gen title yet. None on either system. Starfield was supposed to be it, and we saw what happened with that. Again, I know I sound like a fucking... Oh, shit! Brett snuck in through the back door. What the fuck? I was like, hold on. There's more tiles here. What's up, man?
What up?
Yeah, we just finished doing the breakdown of Sony's financials. Anyway, back to
Yeah,
my
I know. I was listening.
yeah, very informative as
I've been
always.
here.
Yeah, how long were you here
It's
for?
like,
Like most of that?
I was
yeah.
here all the time.
Yeah, I've been
I
here.
was here for most of for a good chunk of what Chris was breaking down.
Good stuff, man. Awesome. Hope you're doing well, man. Oh yeah, my rant, my usual rant, my weekly rant about how sucky this generation is. So I don't need to go over it. Literally listen to any episode of Throwdown this generation. It's been fucking abysmal, man.
Consistency.
Yeah. So, Brett, what's your thoughts on that, man? The fact that fucking half of PlayStation users are still on PS4.
I think we're in a very weird and precarious place because, like, I understand how we got here. Weirdly enough, like, I understand that it is hard explaining to the suits and the investors why selling less of a video game is a good thing. Why having an exclusive for a system that is going to have less sales numbers is ultimately a good thing because of brand identity and legacy. But the problem with publicly traded companies is they don't care about brand identity or legacy. They care about more profit next quarter than this quarter. And therein lies the problem. So I see how it happened, but I think that this is the price that Sony has paid for not committing fully to the next generation. This is a pit they have dug themselves, and when it comes time to move to the next generation, we're going to have a really interesting problem on our hands, because a lot of Sony's core audience, when they need to upgrade, here's where I get a little weird about it. Like, so a bunch of Sony's people are still on PlayStation 4, so they're going to need to upgrade to a PlayStation 6, but Sony has not been putting out the performance to entice people to definitely go towards a PlayStation 6. The only reason the market still looks like this is Microsoft has been failing so completely that Sony doing very little / kind of fucking up in a slow motion isn't as dramatic, so we don't notice it. But Tony's right. The whole industry is in a nosedive. It's just one of those nosedives. Microsoft is also on fire, and so it's kind of rodeo clowning the whole situation.
Here's the thing, though. Number one, we're in a situation where people, with the rising costs of everything, and with so little offer, why would anybody want to move from a PlayStation 4 over to a 5?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
The games are $70. The console is what, $600 now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hasn't gone down. And what is there on this PlayStation 5 that says this is the thing I need to play? You could theoretically wait on your PlayStation 4.
Well, and that's
and I think that's what's happening here. I think everybody's just like, there's not enough on here, and man, I already got, and if we're talking about normie gamers, so it's like, man, I got my, my Madden, I got my, I got all the shit because I got my FIFA soccer, I got my WWE game,
But see, that's a danger
that I want to play on here already. Why do I need to go to this new thing? And the new thing hasn't even shown them why they need to be there.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just saying that's a dangerous precedent, because when PlayStation 6 comes out, you're going to have a whole lot of people being like, well, I didn't really buy the PlayStation 5, and just that part right there, I didn't buy a PlayStation 5, ... it's going to be a problem for Sony. Whether or not, I'm not saying they're going to be beaten by Microsoft or anything like that, but I am saying it is going to cause an inability to grow year or generation over generation the way that they have been.
Go ahead, Brett, because I got something to say.
Much it.
Okay, here's what I will say. If you are still on PS4, you don't get a 5, then the 6 comes out and it has games you cannot play on your PS4, you're probably going to want to make the jump. The reason people didn't make the jump is not because of performance. They didn't make the jump. It's I could play my games right here. I could play the same quote unquote PS5 games on my PS4. But if the PS6 has games they cannot play on PS4, then they'll make the jump.
That only works in a vacuum where PC doesn't exist.
Yeah, but let's not inject PC into this. We're just talking about the regular PlayStation users. So let's just please stick with that, because we could go down a rabbit hole of PC, and I'm not trying to do that right now.
That's because I can't say hypothetically if Microsoft got their shit together, but we all know that's not going to come. And I'm I can't really make that argument with a straight face, but it's dangerous to let people out of that generational cycle, because then they become, I feel less brand loyal. It's not going to be a critical thing, but it's not a good place for Sony to be in. You can't ride your own coattails forever. Eventually there comes a breaking point when you're man, I haven't really bought a PlayStation. And my girlfriend is one of those people. She had the PlayStation 4. They didn't entice her. She got an Xbox.
Yeah, but what if the PS6 does have stuff to entice you?
Yo, Brett, did she get the Xbox when she started dating you?
Yes.
I mean, you are a very convincing person.
Yeah, and you know how women tend to go with what their guys are doing, so there is that factor in there. But again, if the PS6 has compelling games and you're a PlayStation guy, why not get the PS6?
Well, that's the thing. If they have compelling games, but they haven't.
Yeah, but we're talking about PS6 right now.
I'm answering the question. Let me answer it, man.
Okay.
When the PlayStation 6 comes out, it's going to be okay, so they have one or two games that I want. Cool. I'm still probably going to hold off until I know, unless they have an awesome system seller, because they went 5 years without delivering anything. I'm not going to just buy a PlayStation 6 at launch because it has one or two cool looking games, because that might be all the cool games for the generation. I don't necessarily they haven't established that there are exclusives happening. So I don't trust that they're going to. Know what I mean?
Yeah, but the thing is, PlayStation has had exclusives the entire time. The problem is they've been cross-gen, but I don't think you're going to see PS4 games on PS6. I don't think that's going to be a thing.
We're going to see PS5 games on PS6, so I'm not going to buy a PS6 because I don't need to.
But what if you want to play those PS6 games?
What, PS6 exclusives? You think Sony's suddenly going to start doing exclusives again?
They will. Not suddenly. They've been doing exclusives. They have
not been doing enough PS5 exclusives to sell a PS5.
Yeah, so I agree with you on that. So you think that trend? So you think that trend's going to continue with PS6?
I'm going to keep talking, man. They're just going to. Yeah. So I'm not convinced that they're going to make enough PS6 exclusives for me to need to buy a PS6. Okay. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, okay. I can't really dispute that. That's fair enough. I'm just saying, as a consumer, I think you would have more of incentive to get a PS6 than a PS5. But that's also the same problem you have with phones too. It's why get a phone? Why get it? If I have an iPhone 13, why should I get the 14? I could wait for the 16. So we're going to introduce that into the equation, which is possible. And
who even says when PS6 comes out that they're not going to still be releasing games on the PS4?
Yeah, unfortunately. The reason is we have seen less and less PS4 games coming out, thankfully. So I'm going to just assume that'll be dead by then. But we're still going to have PS5 games that are cross-gen. So we're going to start this whole fucking cycle again.
But you see why they don't want to leave the 4 alone. It's the same reason why they didn't want to leave the 2 alone.
Yeah, but at the same time, would more people have bought a PS5 if there was more of a reason to get it? If Sony just said, no more PS4 games, I'm pretty sure those people would have bought a PS5. But I will say the caveat, PS5 was very hard to get for a while, so there's that.
Yeah, I mean, if they say no more PS4 game, that is them cutting off a revenue stream, which they probably don't want to do. We know good and damn well Sony is not about going out there on the field without dipping their toe in.
Of course.
This is as usual. It's them wanting to have their cake and eat it. It's always been this way with Sony.
Even though as we saw, the cross-gen games, even when PS5 had 2 million units or whatever, sold better on PS5.
Yeah, they did. But I mean, it's like, my guess is it's like, how much are PS5 games nowadays?
$70.
$70 now.
Yeah.
How much is the actual PlayStation 5 console? It's more expensive than a PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
So obviously they're going to be making more money because they're charging more.
No, I'm not saying making more money. I'm saying they sold more copies. Understand? They sold, like Miles Morales, right? The PS5 had sold maybe 4 million units at that point, 3 or 4 million, and it sold better on PS5, even though there were like whatever million PlayStation 4s in the world. You know what I'm saying? You on paper, you should be like, hey, more people are going to buy this on PS4. They bought it on PS5 instead. Very interesting.
Well, that was also their wonderful effective marketing, which they literally hid the fact that it was on a PlayStation.
Yeah, but the point is,
most people thought that Miles Morales was only on a 5, which obviously, yes, you want people to think that, okay, the new hot Spider-Man game is going to be on the 5, but hey, wait, it's on the 4. So.
Yeah, exactly. But the point is, like, that happened with every single cross-gen game this generation. If they sold better on PS5.
Yeah.
So I understand where Sony's coming from. It's like, hey, we have a larger install base here. We need to keep making games for this system. But most of those people bought the fucking game on PS5 anyway, despite the fact that that system hadn't sold as many as the PS4, So people will go there. People will go get the new console. You guys got to give them a better reason to it. And I don't think they did enough this generation because, as you rightly said, all these games, except for Returnal, have all been fucking sequels. Or remakes. Name one. Seriously. Ratchet and Clank, Demon Souls, fucking Spider-Man. They're all fucking sequels or remakes,
They're all sequels and remakes. They're obviously playing it safe from the get right here.
Yeah.
But it's again like even by this point in time, the PlayStation 4 already had a list of its own like specific titles. PlayStation 3, just like that, they on that generation, I would say it took a little bit of time to get things started.
Yeah.
But I feel like that was when they were playing hardball against Microsoft because Microsoft had all the cards.
Yeah.
At that point.
So yeah, I'm not surprised by that. And then the other thing that I found interesting was that, and I'm going to read this from IGN here. Sony shipped almost 5 times more PS5 units than Microsoft shipped Xbox Series X units during the last financial quarter. That is fucking insane. Like, wow, So yeah, it shipped 4.5 million PS5 units during the last 3 quarter months. So I don't know what the fucking math is. How many is Xbox? Like 900,000 then?
900,000. Yeah.
Shit. I don't even know, man.
They're firing people.
Yeah. That is fucking insane. The PS5 has sold 59.2 million units as of March 31st, 2024.
Right.
Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
If you compare the ratio to the quarter before that, it would have been 9-1 instead of 5-1. That's how bad it is. Because, like I said, the PS5 sales slipped in the last quarter. It's still 5-1 over Microsoft. If you compare it to the previous one, it's 9-1, right? So that's insane.
That makes it even worse. Yeah. Their sales slipped, and they still beat Microsoft by 5 times console sales in that quarter.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're not doing good. It's just everybody else is doing so much worse.
Yeah, especially their main competitor. They
don't have a main competitor. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, y'all call me an Xbox fan, or an Xbox, but like, I will straight up say they're not even competing with Sony.
Yeah,
they're not.
Well, Brett, to your credit, when I flat out said Xbox hasn't provided any competition for Sony, you didn't dispute me. You're like, yeah, you're right. you agreed.
Yeah,
because people.
I'd like them to.
Yeah,
I think it'd be good for the industry if they did, but it's not happening yet.
Yeah, because it's one of those things. You don't really think about. You're like, oh yeah, Xbox is PlayStation's main competitor. But then when I really, really thought about, it, I'm like, No, they haven't. They haven't been since the Xbox 360 days. As soon as the Xbox One was announced, it was over. It was just PlayStation's ground, you know?
What, and here's the thing that I found really interesting, because like, so the Activision's acquisition really kind of showed me that, I mean, Sony doesn't think of them as competition, but Sony also doesn't want to let them be, like, doesn't even want to let them in the arena. Like, it's a very interesting place, because it's not like they have the confidence that they could win. They just don't even want to, you know, lose their monopoly, which makes sense. It's just, it feels weird, I guess. Like, you'd think that they would welcome a healthy competition. Why? I guess I don't know.
No,
I don't know. I don't know if I don't think the thing about it is, I don't think they saw whatever they were was as something as considered healthy. I think they considered it essentially, weirdly enough, essentially using their money to essentially do the same thing they were sort of controlling the narrative before too, right? So it's like, you know, they know that Sony knows that they make a bunch of money off the Call of Duty games. Whatever console the Call of Duty console is, the Call of Duty console ends up being the one that is the zeitgeist console, right? That one, you know, remember that one time? Yeah, obviously it was Xbox for a while, and then when the tide shifted, it was, you know, PlayStation. And I feel like they didn't want to let go of that brand connection. And officially, once that happened, you know, once the acquisition happened, then I'll be like, oh, wait a minute, now everybody would think that it's just on Xbox, when we thought it had everybody think it was just on a PlayStation. You know?
Yeah, man, these numbers are wild. All right.
Is it like? But I mean, like, are they like? But now the sad thing about all these companies, with the exception of Nintendo, is they're all now adjusting their projections.
Yeah,
they should have adjusted their projections as soon as the pandemic was over. You know, when every, you know, was it 2022 when everybody was back, right? Pretty much, you know, when Black Friday hit and nobody went out to, you know, to raid the stores.
Yeah.
They should have already made that adjustment. They should have went back to numbers, projections that were before the pandemic.
Yeah, but that's not how companies work, unfortunately. They decide, oh, we got to keep the profits going, lay off a shit ton of people, you know?
Yeah.
That's how they think of it instead, you know?
But now it becomes lay off all the people, when they could have nipped this in the butt beforehand.
Yeah, but they're not.
But again, it's always the idea of making themselves look profitable, and using all kinds of goofball smoke screens to make it look like they're doing better than they are, or worse than they are.
Yeah, exactly. Because want to keep the shareholders happy, you know. Oh boy! All right. And the last thing.
How come we're not talking about the return of game stocks?
Oh, is that back?
Yes.
Yeah. Is there anything I know you post about it? Is there anything worth digging into that you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, you know, obviously, you know, GameStop's you know, stock was at an all-time low.
Yeah.
And then they did it. Then they pumped more money into it again. Essentially, ousted a bunch of rich people again because they were, you know, shorting it.
Yeah. So is that happening again now?
Yes, it's happening again.
Oh my God. Gonna prop that shit up like Bernie from Weekend at Bernie's, you know.
Hey, I mean, yeah, that and AMC, both of those ones, they both stonked again, because it's like, you know, number one, the problem is like these guys are betting against them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're like, oh man, we're gonna bet these guys are gonna close. We're gonna take all these, you know, we're gonna spend a bunch of money that we don't have to do this, and then all of a sudden, boom, they get stonked again.
The short sellers are doing their thing again. That's
you know,
funny.
it's like, but you know, like and the thing is that you would think our system would learn from this, right?
Nah, it doesn't work.
There's all these garbage loopholes that these guys use to try to get over, right? And they literally used it. They literally used their own tactic against them, and then cost them a bunch of money. And then you have a bunch of rich people like, oh my God, I lost so much money. And stop fucking with the system, man.
Oh man.
I'm gonna cry for a millionaire because they fucking bankrupt themselves. You decided to do that shit.
Yeah. All right, and the last thing, and this happened today, even though I thought this was already reported, but I think people just have bird memory. So GTA 6 officially dropping in fall 2025, which means it's going to get delayed until 2026. I'm calling it now. You know,
they said they gave, what was it? They gave the usual window.
Yeah, no, I think what it was is when they originally, shot the trailer, they said 2025, just 2025, but now they're saying fall. Go ahead, Brett.
Nothing.
Okay. Also a couple other tidbits here. GTA 5 has hit 200 million copies sold. Mind you, no piece of entertainment, period, has sold that many copies of any entertainment form. But Chris, there's also some Take-Two at their quarterly financial thing. So apparently they lost some money though, right? I don't know if you saw that.
No, I didn't. But I figured. I mean, they acquired. Is it Saber Interactive?
What's it, Saber?
They
No,
acquired
the
someone
Borderlands
from
company.
Embracer.
Yeah, they got Borderlands company, didn't they?
Oh, Gearbox. Yes, that was it.
Didn't they get Gearbox? Yeah.
Yeah, that's one. But they laid off a bunch of people.
Yeah.
After that too, when they reorganized Gearbox. Yeah,
And renamed it. And they renamed it too.
What do they call it now?
I don't remember what the name is, but it's got a new name now.
Okay, I'll look into this. Goddamn fucking ads. It says Take-Two posts $2.9 billion quarterly loss. Holy shit. That's a lot of money. Where am I reading this from? Variety. So take that how you will. GTA 6 has been slated for a release in the autumn of 2025 by Rockstar Games. The news was announced Thursday when Rockstar parent company Take-Two Interactive reported its fourth quarter and full fiscal year 2024 earnings, revealing the company posted a $2.9 billion loss for the January 1st to March 31st period. Take-Two's most recent guidance for the quarter had been a loss between $170 million to $153 million. The company says the fiscal quarter 4 loss of $2.9 billion included a $2.1 billion goodwill charge, a $304 million hit for acquisition-related expenses, and restructuring costs of $93 million. Take-Two is not prepared to get more specific than fall 2025 for the GTA 6 release date, with CEO Strauss Zelnick saying, "I think we're going to leave it there for now." In an interview with Variety ahead of the company's quarterly earnings at 4:30 on Thursday, that announcement will come from Rockstar and be consistent with the way they are marketing the title. And if they're consistent, they're going to probably delay the game at least twice. So
Yeah, probably.
yeah, there you go. So yeah, Chris, what do you think about those losses?
Yeah, that makes sense. The reorganization, this restructuring, has to do with Gearbox, which is I found it odd that they bought them in the first place.
Yeah,
But then you bought. Here's the thing: they're making a Microsoft mistake, but on a smaller scale. It's like, oh, we need more titles. Well, you have Rockstar Games, and they have 3 branches that could make titles, but you are leaning like 80% of their revenue. You're leaning on one title. You're leaning on GTA 5 and GTA Online to just provide revenue all across the thing. So, you don't have San Diego working on maybe something else. You killed Red Dead Online, so that's over with. But you don't have them doing anything else. Like, where's Bully? Where's Manhunt? Where's Midnight Club? Where's anything else? Like, you could have them doing smaller stuff at a different release pace, but you're not. You're just leaning into, GTA 6. It's like, okay, we'll see how that does. But in the meantime, they're like, we need something else, so let's get Gearbox. All right, now you got Gearbox, and what? You're gonna make Borderlands 4? How long is that going to take to bear fruit? Since you just restructured them and laid off a whole bunch of people, I don't understand the logic in this at all. It doesn't sound good to me.
Yeah, here's the thing I'm confused about. It's that $2.1 billion goodwill charge. What's that?
I'm not sure.
I don't know what that is. Goodwill charge. I've never heard of that. Like,
I mean, I don't know if they have some sort of charity. Or
yeah, I was wondering because that sounds like a charity. Let me look this up. Google this shit. A good.
Oh.
No, can't. Go ahead. If anybody actually knows the answer to this shit.
Oh no, it sounds like a charity to me also. But I was just going to say, because you guys asked the question, what else do they have? Well, apparently they're going to announce. They're going to make an announcement during the Summer Games Fest. That was also in the news today that a beloved franchise. They're going to talk about that. A new entry in that. They also own what is it? Ken Levine's upcoming game that's coming out for them, and they're working on another Mafia. And of course the Borderlands game. So they have a couple of things, but obviously they haven't announced any of this stuff yet.
Yeah.
I almost feel like the Borderlands one is probably something that's already in somewhat production, right?
Yeah.
It has to be.
I think so.
Yeah. All right. I think that's pretty much it for the show. Another good one. And we didn't have any fuck ups. And thank you, Discord, for not ruining things. Rich, what's going on with the coalition, man?
Oh yeah, so we're pretty much gearing up for it's going to be a pretty busy the next couple of weeks as we get to Summer Games Fest. There are a couple of reviews in the works. I can say that we do have a Hellblade 2 review on the way. We also have a Ghost of Tsushima Steam Deck review also on the way. So
I have an idea. I think I have an idea who might be doing that.
Yeah, because that individual sent me a photo during the Tonight Show to confirm they are working on this. Yeah, that's pretty funny. But yeah, we have a couple of reviews coming to the website next week, so stay tuned for that, and a couple of other things forthcoming.
Good stuff. All right. Does anybody else have anything to plug?
No, nothing right now.
All right. Good stuff. Always good to check in. Anyway, we're done here, so make sure you follow. Oh, what's up?
Just the short version is the Goodwill change is their acquisition of Gearbox. That's what that charge is.
Oh,
it's it basically accounts for intangible assets and paid over time. So the only thing they acquired is Gearbox. So it has to be that.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, crazy. Anyway, we are done here, so make sure you follow Throwdown on Twitch and Twitter. Join the Discord where the conversations and the rumors are always popping. And again, we are back on YouTube, so make sure you hit like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of when we go live every Thursday and Sunday night, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Throwdown, as always, is on every podcast app you can imagine. Throwdown Show, that's two words, Throwdown Show. Throwdownshow.com to listen to past episodes. And yeah, for everything else, links down below. Once again, our show is Tony Polanco, and tonight is joined by Emilio Lopez.
See you next time.
Chris Seeley.
Hey, take care, everyone.
Carlos Romero.
Peace out.
Brett Murdoch.
Deuces.
Richard Bailey Jr.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
And Brian Manjoma.
Apparently, the PlayStation Portal is selling beyond expectations, yet they don't want to tell us how much it's actually sold.
Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting?
Well, I guess it's beyond zero.
It's beyond zero, yeah. A bunch of morons bought that thing. Anyway, man, we'll see you on Sunday. Later.
Laters.